Välkommen till Sverige. Ett land där snön smälter bort lagom till jul och där man hellre står upp än att ta en ledig plats bredvid någon annan på bussen. Ett land med så många blonda med blåa ögon.
This is very confusing to people who don't speak Swedish. This is not what it's saying right now.
Att det helt enkelt fick bli färgerna på vår flagga. This is Sweden. The early history of Sweden begins around the 9th century when Swedes were merchant seamen well known for their far-reaching trade. You know them as Vikings, and Viking actually means to go on an expedition or to go raiding. Modern Sweden begins in 1397 when the Scandinavian nations were collectively called Kalmarunionen, or in English the Union of Kalmar. But during these years, diverging interests gave rise to a conflict that would hamper the union and ultimately leads to a definite breakup in 1523 when Gustav Vasa became king of Sweden. Sometime after Gustav Vasa had ascended the throne, something called the Swedish Empire was formed, and then we had a galactic war spanning several decades fighting against the Swedish Republic and the Jedi Vikings.
Ja men Lukas, jag är ju för fan din pappa.
But that's for another video. No, but seriously, during this time Sweden was actually one of the great European powers, and this time is even referred to as Stormaktstiden, which roughly translates to the great era of power. But in early 18th century, Sweden took part in the Great Northern War, which was disastrous for Sweden to say the least. Throughout the 18th and 19th centuries, Sweden lost most of its previously conquered territories, and these would later begin the formation of Norway and Finland. But despite its long history of war and conflicts with the neighboring countries, Sweden has stayed neutral ever since 1814. Sweden is one of the most internet-active countries in the world. In fact, with a population of 9.5 million, there's about 500,000 people who are not using the internet in any way. So, statistically speaking, we're fourth in the world, only beaten by a few percent by Norway, Iceland and the Falkland Islands. Sweden also has the largest proportion of personal computers in...
Wait, what the fuck did he say? 94% use the internet.
Europe, with 500 PCs per 1,000 people. The world's largest scale model of the solar system exists in Sweden. It is in the scale of 1 to 20 million and stretches 915 kilometers from the capital Stockholm all the way to Kiruna. The huge spherical building named Globen in Stockholm represents the sun, and then the planets as well as dwarf planets along with some larger asteroids are spread out across the country.
How did I not know this? The fuck? How did I not know this?
Swedes are apparently very good at recycling waste products. In fact, only 4% of all waste generated ends up on landfills. But although this may seem like it could only be a positive and maybe even enviable achievement compared to countries where this is a problem, Swedes are actually too good at it. We're so good at recycling waste that we have to import more waste from Norway. 80,000 tons every year to be exact. This is because Sweden relies on waste to heat and provide electricity to hundreds of thousands of homes through a waste to energy program. So we're basically recycling our fuel. In Japan, there's a town called Sweden Hills, and it's exactly what the name suggests, a town that looks exactly like a regular Swedish neighborhood. The idea began after the Swedish ambassador visited the town and remarked how similar the atmosphere and scenery was to his native Sweden. Only a few years ago, video games was considered to only be played by, should I say, nerds. Today, gaming is everywhere, with people on YouTube, for example, making a living simply by letting people watch them play video games. But you truly must realize how far gaming has come when only last year a school in Stockholm, Sweden started introducing compulsory Minecraft lessons. This was done by teachers hoping the Swedish computer game would help the children to further develop their thinking. Like any other country, Sweden is the source for a lot of inventions and companies that are...
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, but there's more science in Minecraft than any of the fucking games I played when I grew up, so I guess it's decent for schools.
Widely popular today. For example, Anders Celsius was the inventor of the now called Celsius thermometer scale. Alfred Nobel invented dynamite as well as instituted the Nobel Prize. Niels Bohlin invented the safety belt, Gideon Sundbeck invented the modern-day zipper, Baltzar von Platen and Carl Munters invented the refrigerator, one of the first mobile phones was invented by Swedes in 1956, IKEA was founded in 1943, the Swedish site The Pirate Bay is the largest BitTorrent site in the world, Spotify is one of the largest music streaming sites in the world. The popular car manufacturers Volvo, Saab, Koenigsegg and Scania were all founded in Sweden. H&M, which actually stands for Hennes och Mauritz, is the second largest clothing retailer worldwide. And Absolut Vodka is the third largest brand of alcoholic spirits in the world and is sold in 126 countries. Sweden is one of the few countries in the European Union to still retain its own currency and not use the euro. The currency is called krona, which was introduced in 1873. $1 is about 6.5 Swedish crowns. But Sweden is actually
Now it's like 10 crowns. That's how shitty our currency is now.
obligated to adopt the euro at some point since it joined the European Union.
Which is good for me, because, you know, I get dollars.
However, using a loophole in the law, it's been able to declare itself ineligible. The only other two European Union countries also to refuse to adopt the euro are Denmark and the United Kingdom. The shortest name for a location in the world exists in Sweden as well as Norway, and only consists of one letter, the letter called Å. Because in Swedish we have 3 extra letters at the end of the alphabet, namely Å, Ä and Ö. Ö can mean island and Å is a word for river. We all know that my English is absolutely flawless, beautiful pronunciations such as character, Danish, jello, and let's not forget rural. Sweden actually has a higher percentage of English speakers than Canada, and it's only about 8% behind the United States. This has a lot to do with Sweden's tendency to prefer subtitled content over dubbing. But English has also been a compulsory subject for Swedish students since the 1940s. And on top of all this, Swedish was not announced the official language of Sweden until 2009.
Inatt jag drömde något.
Jag har aldrig drömt förut. Snow Sack in the 5 years, dude.